If you turn on the news these days, what do you see? You see people who want to destroy the American Republic, who want to restructure it, who want to reimagine it, who want to turn it into something quasi or fully socialist. Where do you see them? You see them on the streets. You see them on the media. You see them on our campuses. You see them in corporate boardrooms. You see them at the local level. You see them at the state level. You see them at the halls of Congress. And they're all saying the same thing. They want to restructure, destroy this republic. And they're willing to use force. They're either willing to openly condone it or maintain silence to allow it to continue and to use those forces for their own political ends. And if you look at all these different levels, what's the one theme that cuts through all of them? What's the one common denominator that unites them all? They're all the product of American higher education. And if you want to save the republic, that's where you have to focus. Why am I focusing on higher education? Well, let me use a simple analogy. You have a problem with hornets in your backyard. Maybe you have a pool and children. You have a grill to cook out. And there are hornets all over the place. So how do you deal with the hornets? Well, you can wear bug repellent. You can swat them with a fly swatter. You can arm everybody with a can of spray and they spray the hornets if they get close by. Well, what's the best way to deal with the hornets? You go to the source of the problem. You find their nest, you wipe out the nest, and you end your hornet problem. It's the same thing with higher education. If you look at all the people, all the strands of society that are attacking the American Republic, but one thing they have in common is they're all the product of higher education. So if you want to deal with the problem, that's the source. That's where you have to go. Let me give you another analogy, this one historical. You may remember the story of Alexander the Great. He's invading the Persian Empire. He's somewhere in Asia Minor, and there's this town called, I think it was called Gordian. And he gets there, and there's this wagon that's hitched to a post, and it's tied with this very elaborate knot. And the legend is that whoever can, release the wagon will rule all of Asia. Now, people for centuries had tried to unravel the knot, but it was too complex, nobody could do it. So they brought Alexander to it. And he looked at it for a while, and he thought, and he pulls out a sword, cuts through the knot, releases the wagon. Simple answer to a complex problem. Cut the knot. That's basically what I'm saying about higher education. We have to approach it in that same fashion. As I said, higher education is the common thread, the common denominator that cuts through all our problems, all the levels. The professors, not all of them, but a good proportion of them, train and educate students to think like what we're seeing on the streets today and in the corporate boardrooms and everywhere else. Those same professors, some of the students that they teach end up being the K through 12 teachers who teach our children at the lowest levels. And anybody who pays any attention to what's going on in K through 12 knows what's happening there. The journalists all come out of the universities, are all college educated. The people in the corporate boardrooms, why do we see corporations supporting BLM or some of these other groups? Where did they get their degrees? You think it's only in the humanities and the social sciences that this stuff is going on? All these people have to take some of these other courses, no matter what they're in. The tech giants, if they graduated from college, some of them don't, but if they went, where were they trained? Where were they educated? What ideas were they fed? Even the leaders of groups like BLM and Antifa, many of them are college graduates or at least college educated. Where did they pick up their ideas? So cutting through all these different layers, our politicians, another classic example, where do they go to school? Usually the elite schools, and what are they teaching there? What are they learning there? Where did Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez learn some of her wifty economic ideas? Boston University. She just picked them up on the street. She didn't pick them up in a bar when she was bartending. That's how she was educated. She was educated to believe these things. We're very fortunate because the left, the progressives, the Ameriweenies have shown us the path to take. They've given us the tools. All we need to do is to pick them up and use them. And what are the tools? What are the tools they're using to get rid of the police departments, to weaken police departments, to disestablish police departments? Defund, reimagine. And that's what I'm saying. Let's defend the American Republic by adopting programs that attempt to defund higher education. Programs and approaches that will reimagine higher education. That's what we need to do. Just pick up the tools they gave us and let's use them. Now, what are some of the tools that the federal government could employ against higher education? Well, at the state level, if conservatives are in charge of a state, you can defund state-funded institutions. Simple enough. At the federal level, you can look into, and I think Trump's already doing this, questions about tax exemption. Are they fulfilling the requirements to get a tax exemption? You could tax endowments. That's all possible. You could use another tool, one of their own tools against them. Affirmative action, a quest for diversity. What we need on universities is diversity of intellectual thought. That's what's missing. Right now, diversity means white people, black people, brown people, yellow people, red people, different colors, but all believing in inherently the same bunch of ideas. It's not diversity of thought. Diversity should be all about intellectual approach. And that's been lost on the campuses. We're losing freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly on campuses. Let's be honest with what's going on. Why not make student loans dependent on a major? I mean, if I go into a bank and I want to start a business, and I pick, business A, which is thriving right now. I want to do something that's, online or delivery related. I'm going to get a loan. If I want to start a business that has a history of failure, that's not going to go anywhere. I want to sell, ice cream in Alaska, north of the Arctic Circle. They're not necessarily going to give me a loan. For the banks to give you a loan, they want to know what you're going to do with it. Why don't we do the same thing with education? If somebody comes in and says, I'm going to be an engineer, I want to build bridges, you say, fine. Somebody comes in and says, I want to be some kind of fill in the blank studies major, and you can look and you can check and you can see how likely these people are to be employed. They're going to borrow $100,000 in student loan and get a $32,000 a year job. How are they going to pay back the loan? Why not hold students, when they try to get a loan, to the same procedures that I have to follow if I want to get a business loan or a car loan? I mean, I can't go in and say, well, I only make $40,000 a year. I want to buy a Maserati, fully loaded Maserati that costs, close to $1 million. They're not going to give it to me. We can't allow this to just keep going on. These people are intent on destroying the republic. They've made it quite clear. They've taken off the gloves in the last several months. They don't even hide what they're trying to do anymore. They don't try to deceive us. They don't lie. They're just doing it openly. And what we need to do is to respond using their tactics. Just pick up the tools they've given us and employ them. It's really that simple. As I said, if we're being pestered by hornets, we're being attacked by hornets, You don't deal with the individual hornets. You go to the nest. And that's what we need to do. And the nest is higher education in this country. If you like this video, please leave a comment, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button so you know when I post new videos. And until the next time, I am out of here.